Designing Your Life: How to Build a Well-Lived, Joyful Life, by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. Introduction. Picture a young woman named Ellen. From the time she was little, she loved rocks. She'd collect them, sort them, and categorize them. So, when it came time to declare her major in college, the choice seemed obvious: geology. Her parents were so proud. Our daughter, the future geologist. But after 4 years and an expensive diploma, Ellen moved back home. She started walking dogs and babysitting to make a little money, just like she did in high school. Her parents were confused. When was their daughter going to turn into a geologist? When was her real life going to begin? Here's the thing. Ellen had realized she didn't actually want to be a geologist. She wasn't interested in fieldwork or writing reports for an environmental agency. She had made a decision based on a childhood hobby, and now, with her whole life ahead of her, she felt completely and utterly stuck. She was told college would be the best 4 years of her life, and if that was true, she felt like she had nowhere to go but down. Now, picture Janine. Mid-30s, a graduate of a top law school, working at a prestigious firm in Silicon Valley. She had checked every box. College, law school, marriage, career, everything had gone exactly according to plan. She was the perfect picture of success. But Janine had a secret. Some nights, after a long day at the firm, she would sit on her beautiful deck overlooking the valley lights, and she would just cry. She had everything she was told she should want, but she was profoundly unhappy. She felt like there was something wrong with her. How can you have everything and nothing at the same time? These stories might feel familiar. Maybe not the details, but the feeling. That feeling of being stuck. Of following a map that someone else drew for you, only to realize you're lost. Of asking yourself, late at night, is this really it? Why the hell am I doing this? For decades, we've operated under a set of broken beliefs. Beliefs like, your college major determines your career. Or, if you are successful, you will be happy. Or the most dangerous one of all, that you should have your life figured out already. Today, we're going to look at a book that throws all of that out the window. It's called Designing Your Life, and it was written by 2 men, Bill Burnett and Dave Evans, who teach a wildly popular class at Stanford University. They aren't psychologists or career counselors. They're designers. The kind of people who designed the hinges on the first Apple laptops and the very first mouse. And they looked at life's biggest questions. What do I want to be? How do I find a job I love? How can I create a life that is both meaningful and joyful? And they realized something profound. These aren't problems to be solved. They are projects to be designed. This book offers a radical reframe. What if you could use the same thinking that created the most innovative technology and the most beautiful products to create a life that truly fits you? A life that is constantly creative, evolving, and full of surprise. So, if you've ever felt stuck, or worried you're on the wrong path, or you're just starting out and feeling the pressure to have it all figured out, this next hour is for you. We're going to explore the 5 mindsets of a life designer and the practical tools you can use to stop agonizing and start building. By the end of our time together, you'll understand that you don't need to find the one perfect, right plan for your life. You just need to learn how to design it. Book summary. So, where do we begin? The first lesson from a designer's perspective is always the same, and it's captured by a simple sign that hangs in the Stanford Design Studio. It just says, "You are here." It's a simple but powerful reminder. You don't start where you wish you were. You don't start where you think you should be. You start right where you are. Designers, you see, love problems. But they especially love what they call wicked problems, the kind of messy, complex challenges that don't have one clear solution. And designing a life is the ultimate wicked problem. But often, we make it even harder on ourselves by working on the wrong problem entirely. Or worse, we get stuck on what the authors call gravity problems. A gravity problem is a situation that you can't change. It's like complaining about, well, gravity. You can't do anything about it. It's a fact of life, a circumstance. Someone might say, poets just don't make enough money in our society. What do I do about it? That's a gravity problem. You can't single-handedly change the market for poetry. The only response to a gravity problem is acceptance. Once you accept it, you can start working on a problem that is actionable. You can't change the income of poets, but you can design a life where you have a stable job that leaves you with enough time and energy to write poetry. You work with reality, not against it. To figure out where you are, Burnett and Evans give us a simple tool: the health, work, play, love dashboard. Imagine 4 gauges, like in a car, each measuring how full you are in these key areas. Health isn't just about your body, it's your mind and spirit too. Work isn't just your paid job, it's everything you do, including volunteering or raising a family. Play is anything that brings you pure joy just for the sake of doing it. And love is about your connection to others, family, friends, community. You simply take a moment to assess how full each of these gauges is for you right now. There is no perfect balance. A young person just starting a career might have a full work gauge and a lower love gauge. A new parent might have a very different dashboard. The point isn't to judge yourself, it's just to get a clear, honest snapshot. It's answering the simple question, how's it going? With real data about your life. This dashboard is your starting point. It shows you where the imbalances are and what design problem you might want to tackle first. Once you know where you are, you need a compass to guide you. Not a map? A map shows you a specific destination and a fixed path. But life isn't like that. A compass, on the other hand, just gives you a direction. It helps you stay oriented, no matter what terrain you encounter. Your life design compass has 2 parts, a work view and a life view. A work view isn't about what job you want. It's a short reflection on why you work. What is work for? What does it mean to you? Is it about making a contribution, achieving mastery, providing for your family, or something else entirely? A life view is your personal answer to life's big questions. Why are we here? What gives life meaning? What is the role of joy, sorrow, justice, and love? You don't have to be a philosopher to write these. You just have to be honest with yourself. When you write them down, you then look for coherence. Where do your work view and life view align? Where do they clash? For example, if your life view says you value leaving the planet a better place, but your work is for a company that pollutes, that lack of coherence is going to create a deep sense of unease. Living a coherent life means you can connect the dots between who you are, what you believe, and what you are doing. This alignment creates your true north. It's the internal compass that helps you know when you're on course and when you need to make a correction. With your compass in hand, you're ready to begin the art of wayfinding, figuring out where you are going when you don't actually know the destination. Your first clues are not found in deep thought, but in paying attention to your daily experience. Specifically, you need to track 2 things: engagement and energy. This brings us to one of the most practical tools in the book, the Good Time Journal. It's very simple. For a few weeks, you keep a log of your daily activities. Next to each activity, you note how engaged you were and how energized you felt. Engagement is about being focused and interested. When you're truly engaged, you might experience what psychologists call flow. Flow is that magical state where you're so absorbed in an activity that time seems to stand still. You feel in the zone. Maybe it happens when you're solving a complex problem, playing an instrument, or even just chopping vegetables for dinner. Flow is a powerful clue to what truly captivates you. Energy is slightly different. Some activities might be engaging but leave you completely drained. Others might be quiet and simple, but they replenish your energy. The goal of the Good Time Journal is to catch yourself in the act of having a good time and to see what activities fuel you versus what activities drain you. This isn't just about feeling good. It's about data. The story of Michael, the civil engineer, illustrates this perfectly. He was miserable in his job and thought he needed a completely new career, maybe in finance. But after keeping a good time journal, he discovered something surprising. He actually loved the complex, solitary engineering problems. What drained him was the administrative work and dealing with difficult clients. He didn't need a new career. He needed to redesign his current one to include more of the work that brought him to life. He ended up getting his PhD. And now spends his days happily solving the kinds of problems he loves. His journey wasn't about finding his passion. It was about paying attention to what gave him joy and energy. But what happens when you feel truly stuck? When your good time journal is mostly empty and you can't think of any realistic alternatives? This is where designers use a powerful technique called ideation, coming up with lots of ideas, especially wild and crazy ones. Most of us get stuck because we're looking for the one right idea. This puts enormous pressure on us and paralyzes our thinking. But designers know a secret: you choose better when you have lots of good ideas to choose from. And you never ever go with your first idea. Our brains are lazy. They love the first, most obvious solution. To get past that, you have to generate a lot of options. A fantastic tool for this is mind mapping. You start with a single idea or topic in the center of a page. Say, something from your good time journal like being outdoors. Then, you free associate, branching out with related words. Outdoors might lead to hiking, which leads to mountains, which leads to explorers. Maybe outdoors also leads to surfing, which leads to beaches, then tides, then cycles, and suddenly you're thinking about bicycle racing. You do this quickly, for just a few minutes, without judging or censoring yourself. The goal is to get to the outer edges of the map, where the ideas are 2 or 3 steps removed from your conscious thoughts. Then, you pick a few of those random outer ring words and mash them together to create a new, unexpected concept. Grant, who was stuck in a boring car rental job, did this and ended up combining explorers, tropical beaches, and pirates into an idea for a pirate surf camp for kids. Suddenly, he wasn't stuck anymore. He had a dozen new, energizing possibilities to explore. This leads us to the centerpiece of the life design process, creating your Odyssey plans. This is where you don't just design a life, you design your lives. The exercise is to come up with 3 completely different 5-year plans for your future. Not plan A, B, and C, where B is the backup and C is the one you settle for. 3 different, viable, and exciting plan A's. Here's a simple way to frame them. Life 1. That thing you do. This is your current plan or the idea that's already on your mind. Life 2. That thing you'd do if thing 1 were suddenly gone. Imagine your industry disappears overnight. What would you do then? This forces you to think beyond your current path. Life 3. The thing you'd do if money or image were no object. If you knew you could make a living and nobody would laugh at you, what would you do? For each plan, you create a visual timeline for the next 5 years. You give it a 6-word headline, write down a few key questions this plan is exploring, and rate it on a dashboard for resources, likability, confidence, and coherence. This exercise is incredibly liberating. It shatters the myth that there's only one right life for you. It shows you that you contain multitudes. You could be a consultant, a strategist at a media company, or a wine distributor. All of these lives are within you, and recognizing that frees you from the pressure of finding the single perfect path. Now you have all these exciting ideas and plans. But they're still just ideas. How do you know which one is right for you? You don't think your way forward, you build your way forward. This is the mindset of prototyping. In design, you never go from an idea straight to the final product. You build a simple, low-cost prototype to test your assumptions and get real-world feedback. In life design, you do the same thing. You don't quit your job to open an Italian deli without first finding out if you even like running a deli. You run small experiments to explore your questions. The two main ways to prototype a life are through prototype conversations and prototype experiences. A prototype conversation is what the authors call a life design interview. It's not a job interview. You are not asking for a job. You are asking for someone's story. You find people who are doing something that looks interesting to you, and you reach out to them simply to hear about their journey. How did they get where they are? What do they love about their work? What do they hate? What does a typical day look like? This is the real meaning of networking. It's not a slimy transactional thing. It's just asking for directions from people who are a little further down the road. People love to tell their stories, and these conversations give you an insider's view of a potential future, all for the price of a cup of coffee. A prototype experience goes a step further. It involves a direct encounter with the work itself. This could be shadowing someone for a day, taking on a 1-week unpaid project, or doing a 3-month internship. The goal is to get a feel for the work before you commit. This approach is also the secret to cracking the hidden job market. Studies show that as many as 80% of jobs are never publicly posted. They are filled through internal networks and referrals. As a job seeker hunting on the internet, you can't access this market. But as a curious inquirer having prototype conversations, you naturally build relationships and become an insider. People get to know you, your interests, and your talents. And very often, these conversations organically turn into job offers. Someone will say, "You know, you seem really interested in what we do here. Have you ever thought about working at a place like this?" This flips the whole script of job hunting. Instead of desperately trying to get one job, you focus on having interesting conversations and collecting multiple offers. This allows you to explore the latent wonderfulness of a role, the real nature of the work, which you can never know from a flawed job description. You shift from judging to exploring, from scarcity to abundance. Of course, at some point, you have to make a choice. And this is where many people get tripped up again. We live under the dysfunctional belief that to be happy, we have to make the right choice. But the authors argue there is no right choice, there is only good choosing. First, you have to deal with option paralysis. A famous study found that when a store offered 24 types of jam, shoppers were overwhelmed and very few bought any. When they offered only 6 types, sales soared. Our brains can only effectively handle 3 to 5 options at once. So, after you've generated lots of ideas, you have to ruthlessly narrow your list down to a few top contenders. When it's time to choose, you don't just rely on your logical, analytical brain. Good choosing is an act of discernment, which uses multiple ways of knowing. This includes your gut feeling, your emotional intelligence, and your intuition. One technique to tap into this is called grokking. To grok a choice, you live with it for a few days. For 1 to 3 days, you fully imagine you have chosen alternative A. You don't think about it, you live in it. Then you take a break and do the same for alternative B, and then C. This process allows you to feel what each path is like, accessing a deeper wisdom than a pro and con list ever could. Once you've made a choice, the final and most crucial step is to let go and move on. You don't agonize. You don't second guess. You embrace the choice you've made and pour your energy into making it great. Happiness isn't about making the perfect choice, it's about being happy with the choices you make. Of course, along the way, you will fail. Prototypes will fail. Plans will fall through. This is not just possible, it's guaranteed. And that's why the final piece of the puzzle is developing failure immunity. Failure immunity doesn't mean you'll never experience disappointment. It means you become immune to being defined by it. You reframe failure as part of the process. Life isn't a finite game, where you either win or lose. It's an infinite game, where the goal is to keep playing. Each failure is just data. It's the raw material for your next success. The authors provide a failure reframe exercise. 1. Log your failures. 2. Categorize them. Are they simple screw-ups? Are they weaknesses, things you're just not good at? Or are they growth opportunities? 3. Identify growth insights. For the growth opportunities, what can you learn? What could you do differently next time? This simple process turns setbacks into learning, building the grit and perseverance that are essential for a well-designed life. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, you don't do any of this alone. The last designer mindset is radical collaboration. Life design is a team sport. You need to build a team of supporters, mentors, and collaborators who are on this journey with you. Find people who can offer you counsel, helping you figure out what you think, rather than just advice, telling you what they think. Your life isn't something you figure out in your head and then reveal to the world. It's something you co-create with the people and the world around you. Commentary. At its heart, Designing Your Life is a deeply optimistic and liberating book. It takes the immense, terrifying pressure of figuring out your life and reframes it as a creative, playful, and collaborative adventure. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the shift away from finding the one right answer and toward building a life that is an authentic expression of who you are, right now. The world today, especially with the internet, presents us with a paradox of choice. We see a seemingly infinite number of paths we could take, which often leads to paralysis rather than freedom. The book's advice to narrow your options to a manageable number, make a good choice with the information you have, and then fully commit to it is incredibly practical wisdom for the modern age. It's a powerful antidote to the fear of missing out. What also stands out is the deep humanity of this approach. The emphasis on community, on asking for help, and on co-creation is a beautiful reminder that our lives are not lived in a vacuum. We are shaped and supported by our relationships, and the best life designs are built in connection with others. The distinction between counsel and advice is a game changer. Learning to seek out people who help you access your own wisdom, rather than just imposing their own, is a skill that will serve you for a lifetime. If you were to take just one thing away from this book today, let it be the mindset of prototyping. Don't just sit and think. Do something. Have a conversation. Try a small project. Volunteer for an afternoon. These low-risk experiments are the key to getting unstuck. They replace fear and uncertainty with curiosity and data. You don't have to have it all figured out before you start. You just need to be willing to take one small, tangible step forward. So, how can you apply this right now? First, try the health, work, play, love dashboard. Take 5 minutes tonight. Draw the 4 gauges and honestly assess where you are. It's a simple act of awareness that can reveal surprising insights. Second, start a good time journal for just 1 week. Don't make it a chore. Just notice, at the end of each day, what activities gave you energy and what drained you. Look for those small moments of flow. This isn't about making a huge life change. It's about tuning the life you already have to be more joyful and sustainable. And finally, Identify one question you have about your future. It could be about a career, a hobby, or a lifestyle. Then, think of one person you could have a prototype conversation with. Reach out and just ask for their story. Not for a job, not for a favor, just for their story. You'll be amazed at how generous people are, and what you might discover. That was the book summary of Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. We've certainly covered the big ideas today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a travel brochure. The real adventure happens when you take the trip yourself. The magic of this book is in doing the exercises, in the quiet moments of reflection when a simple idea clicks into place in a way you didn't expect. This summary is designed to help you decide if this journey is for you. If anything we've talked about has sparked a sense of hope or curiosity, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's about doing, and it can genuinely change the way you see your future. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable and want to continue exploring the ideas that shape successful and fulfilling lives, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next journey into another transformative book. Let's keep designing and growing together.